where are you at revenue-wise now?
84K a month. I was stuck at 15K a month for 5 or 6 months. Is it even possible to get the churn down? And then as soon as I joined that next month, I was in the 20s, which was easily a record. And nothing else would allow me to 8x from 15 to 84 in the span of 4 or 5 months.
So, Chris, hello, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm very, very good. So for the people that don't know you, if you would just want to give us a general introduction of who you are, where you're based, how old you are, what agency you run, where you're at, and then we can take it from there.
Yep, so I'm Chris, 19, I'm in Miami, Florida. I run an agency for auto customization shops, and we basically help them with Meta ads, Google ads, as well as some organic content.
Cool, okay. So you work with car detailing business owners. I know about I believe it was like 4 months ago now, 3-4 months ago that you joined the program. Back then, I know your biggest constraint was, I think it was overall quality and then as well churn. I'm curious to know, taking it back to then, what do you feel like the biggest constraints were in the business that were stopping you from, being able to grow at the level you could be?
I think one of the biggest ones was churn, as well as just general mindset around how the business worked. And I was stuck at 15K a month for 5 or 6 months because of those two main constraints.
Okay. So churn and then the mindset thing. Because I think this is like the unsexy stuff that a lot of people don't talk about. The churn, the mindset pieces, people just give a fuck about collecting piffs, which all of us want to do. So when it comes to you being stuck there for like 5 or 6 months, like expand further on that in terms of the mindset piece. What do you think was holding you back?
I wasn't thinking about the agency just as a generalized business the way that I should have been and the way that I did start to after joining the program. So I was very hesitant, for example, to hire people that I needed. And that's a big reason why I was staying stuck, because I didn't know if I should hire or how to hire if I should. And that combined with just not spending enough on ads. I was spending the same amount the entire time, 5-6 months on ads. And you can't grow if you don't spend more. If you have a leaky bucket the way I did with retention, I was churning 35-40% of clients month over month.
I actually remember when you first came in and you told me that, like your churn was fucked. And I swear, like when you were like 15K, you had no team members. It was just you.
Just me.
Just you. What does the team look like now? Because you've got you did a master class in the program on like upselling and things like that. And you mentioned hire fast, getting people in has helped you tremendously. What does the team look like now?
So now I have 2 media buyers, a video editor, a website designer, a CSM, a setter, and I'm in the process of hiring a closer as well as a second CSM. So we've got about 45 clients and my current CSM is pretty much capped out.
Okay, cool. So the team's pretty big now. Because I know a lot of people are scared of hiring for the reason that they think, oh, it's going to tank our margin. It's going to fuck me. I'm not going to make any money. How have you found that process from going from like doing everything or in all the hats to starting to delegate those things?
Yeah, that's also what I spoke about in the masterclass as well. So like for me, I had that exact mindset. Like I think that if I hire, I'm making 15K now, I'm going to pay this person. It was $800 is how much I paid my media buyer. I thought that's $800 less that I'll be making. But when I hired that person, I immediately jumped to 25K because I had more capacity. So every single time that I personally have made a hire, I've seen my revenue jump by at least 4 to 5 times what I'm paying that person on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Like most people see it as an expense. I think this is one of the first things we spoke about on that onboarding call that we had, which was you first got to break the belief before you actually put your balls on the table, up your ad spend, hire the person. But it's an investment, right? You want to see every single person you hire as an investment, even if they don't have quantifiable metrics tied to them. Like your media buyer probably isn't going to make you like 20 grand in a month as an example, but he frees up your time, which might be worth like $1,000 an hour now, that you can then allocate to revenue-driven activities that you can in turn then scale, right? You can focus more on sales and marketing. So when you hired you said the first person was a media buyer.
Correct.
Because I'm sure people will be curious to know in terms of like the progression, because where are you at revenue-wise now?
84K a month.
Nice, okay. And then what about churn?
Churn last month was relatively high, to be honest, 27%, because I handed a lot of clients off to a CSM.
Yeah.
And as soon as I handed the first couple off, I was just like, all right, fuck this. I handed them 30 clients off without even introducing her. She just sent them a message in Slack and said, let's hop on a call.
Nice.
But usually churn now is down to like 18 to 20%.
Sick. Okay. So going from like 15 to 85 in what, like 4 months?
Yeah, 4 or 5 months.
Right. What did that flow look like? So like, okay, I hired this person, which freed me up to do X, and in turn we scaled to Y. What did that hiring order look like and the revenue jumps?
So as soon as I hired the media buyer and noticed the jump, I started just hiring pretty much as quick as I could. So media buyer first, that got me up to like 20, 25K. Then I hired a setter, which got me up to like 30, sometimes 40, I think was my peak. And then I hired a CSM, which really freed me up. So after the CSM, I was able to jump up to 60-ish, I believe, in my first month with her. And then we started upselling a bunch of people. So I hired another media buyer, a video editor, as well as the website designer. And that's when we went from 60 up to 84K.
Okay. And then we were just talking before this. So your next plan is to hire a closer. And then what's the goal then?
I think a closer will let me get to 100.
Sick. So right now you're the one, you've got a setter qualifying the leads. You go in, you close them. You're going to bring a closer in. And then from there, for the most part, all the main key positions you've got covered on all bases, right?
Yes.
Sick. Cool. So when it comes to the churn, because I know before you came into the program, that was the biggest thing. You were like on the fence a little bit and you were telling me like, look, can you actually help me bring up my churn down? I was like, bro, just fucking give me money. We'll figure it out. Don't worry. What do you think was the biggest thing that got you down from like 35% churn? I know you mentioned you were sitting around like, did you say 15%, but you had a high month last month? Is that right? Yeah. What do you think the biggest thing was that allowed you to like half churn?
Well, first of all, I want to touch on what you said at the start there. Like for me, it was at the point where for the entire time I was in the agency, I was turning over like 35%. My best month was 35%. So mentally, I was at a point where I was thinking like, can I even generate any more results no matter what, or should I just go for new cash? So I was super hesitant, like, is it even possible to get the churn down? And then as soon as I joined that next month, I was in the 20s, which was easily a record. And that's one of the things that allowed me to, as well as the media buyer, go from that 10, 15 up to 20, 25K. I think the biggest thing that changed in terms of bringing it down or what allowed me to do that was having the right systems in place. I have seen and been in other programs, tried other stuff, but there was a lot of stuff that didn't necessarily move the needle at all, or if it did move the needle, it would be inconsistent. So maybe there's something that you do where brings the churn down 1 month, but then it goes right back up. Whereas when you have the right systems in place, which is what you basically implemented for us, it allows you to consistently get that churn down to a level that allows you to scale.
If we were to pinpoint, like, was there any like 2 or 3 key things that you feel you implemented where we're like, that gave us the biggest reduction in churn?
I think having the right call frameworks was very helpful. So that would be the first thing. And then call frameworks, as well as better expectation setting, which you could say is part of the call framework. I would say expectation setting is something on its own, because you can have the right call frameworks and still set expectations too high. And then the third thing would be just not touching anything. So once I implemented your systems, I stopped touching it. I haven't looked at changing that side of the business in a few months now, and that's consistently allowed it to continue coming down because my team has just gotten used to the process that's in place.
Yep. You were talking about this on the masterclass you did as well, right? So true. You hear Hermosi talk about it where every time you make a significant change, you experience a net decrease in overall efficiency, because especially when you start building a team, you're no longer trying to shift the direction of a rubber dinghy with just you in it. As the team gets bigger, it goes from a rubber dinghy to a fucking speedboat to a cruise ship, right? And it's a lot harder to pivot and make changes to those things. And over time, you leave it, which you have, and it sounds like you've been focusing mainly on sales, marketing, how do we acquire more people? And then as a result, the team just figure out better ways to steer the ship correctly. They start taking control of the wheel. Is that what you found?
Yeah, that's exactly what happens.
I want to touch on the ad spend piece, because that's a big point where you were spending consistently the same amount in ads for like a 5 or 6 month period. A lot of people get stuck in this, right? They're just afraid to put their balls on the table. And that's all it really is. All it really is. It's just them in their own head. What made you decide to go, you know what, fuck it? Because you're spending, how much are you spending on ads now? What was you spending then? And what do you feel like allowed you to break through that mindset block?
So last month I spent about 13K on the ads, which is basically the same revenue that I did the month that I joined the program. Before then I was spending maybe like 2 to 4K depending on the month. And that ties back into the mindset piece of I just wasn't thinking about the agency the way that you need to in order to scale. And that's part of what the program allowed me to do. So I was looking at it, same thing with employees, as an expense. Whereas when I joined and started to learn kind of what you did, how you operated, I started looking at the actual numbers. So how much am I paying for a booked call? How much am I paying for a client? And I realized if I'm paying, let's say $800 per client and I'm spending 4K on ads, I'm never gonna sign more than 3 to 5 clients in a month. Whereas if I'm churning the same amount as I'm signing, then I stay stagnant. So then I realized, okay, I'm paying $800 per client. They're paying me more than that in the first month. So I just need to scale that spend, and that's really what allowed me to do it. It wasn't even a slow progression, because as soon as I realized that I had a set CAC where I was consistently for 5 or 6 months signing clients for that price, I went ahead and just doubled the spend, and that's what allowed me to make one of those bigger jumps.
It's so funny because it's so simple, and it almost seems like probably so obvious to you now that you're like, fuck, why didn't I figure that out earlier? All it is literally a numbers in, numbers out game, right? Okay, if our CAC is lower than our lifetime gross profit, let's just scale, bring churn down, increase LTV, put your balls on the table with the ads. It's really that simple.
And it sounds super simple when you say it, but without having the right systems and the right guidance, it's very hard to implement. And that's something I've been struggling with, because I didn't have the LTV before, and I didn't know how to scale, which is exactly what the program allowed me to do.
Cool, man. I mean, the final thing I'll leave off on before I ask you a final question is just overall in the program in general. I'm curious to know how you found things in terms of the SOPs, the support, as well as the onboarding call, just like a general for other people that are watching this that are considering it. How have you found it as a whole, and what do you feel like was the best thing out of it that you've got?
It's been great. Like I said, I've been in a few other programs before, and there's always good nuggets that you can pull. That's kind of been my mindset in the past, is like, even if there's just 1 or 2 good things that allow me to jump in revenue, this would be worth it. But this is something that's more all-encompassing. So nothing else would allow me to 8x from 15 to 84 in the span of 4 or 5 months like this did. So overall, it's been amazing. The SOPs, like I said, I didn't touch anything. I implemented exactly what you already had, and that cut our churn more than in half and allowed us to scale like that.
That's it, man. Is there anything else you want to leave people off on? I guess notes on what you feel you did differently to other people that get stuck at like 10 or 20K. I'm all out of questions, so if you have any nuggets to share with anyone.
I think that you need to have the same mindset that I had, right? A lot of these investments you look at as set expenses. You know, you might spend 15K here, 20K there, but if it's going to bring your agency from 5K, 20K, 30K up to 7 figures a year, then is it worth it to make that small investment compared to what you get back? Because that was what held me back. That's why I was stuck for 5 or 6 months. And as soon as I took the leap and I started investing into the right things, I was able to jump significantly.
Completely agree. Sounds biased, right? Well, which it kind of is at the same time. But it's so fucking true that even before I launched this as well, I've spent an absurd amount of money on coaching, and I still continue to do so now. It's like people talk about investing in the SMP, and even like investing in ads is super important, but it's kind of like you need someone to look at that from an overview and be like, okay, why the fuck are you going in this direction? This is going to take you to Zimbabwe. You need to go to Spain. Do you know what I'm saying? So like make this small, slight angle change. But Chris, I think that's pretty much everything, brother. Appreciate having you on.